Arisen Earthlings, this is Internet Personality Vangelus, and it's Earthrise time! Well, it's Leader Class Earthrise Optimus Prime time. Oh, wait. It's prime time! Ah, too late, I'm not restarting. This is my first coverage of the second part of the Generations War for Cybertron trilogy, and at this point we're rather divorced from Generations lines that need full overview videos. Earthrise has dropped Siege's battle damage, switched to Earth alt modes, and shifted its focus from modular weapons to ramps that don't interact at all with the ramps from Titan's Return unless you get some add-ons from non-F. And oh, there are also tech spec strips pinging nostalgia and helping users read the snippet of the star map that's clippable from the cardboard insert of each figure. Oh, yeah, also, Optimus Prime's twist ties are a deafeningly unsubtle assembly of crotch bondage. I haven't been able to unsee it for months, thanks Jen, and I'm gonna make sure none of you will unsee it either. And you know, good on him for wearing it so confidently. Crotch bondage is absolutely a more mature subject that we won't be digging into any further, but I've said crotch bondage enough times to make it clear that this video is not for kids. Although I've also cleared up, this video is not about crotch bondage. Following the trends set by Siege, Optimus uses the Leader Class price point to be a Voyager Plus, pushing himself past the build limits of that price point and filling out the rest of the box with add-ons, which are his trailer. Before I continue, let's hit that elephant that's standing right in front of us, stuffing a mouth guard into its mouth. This guy shares an astonishing amount of tooling with Siege Voyager Prime. Thanks to Chris Carter, I have a handy Twitter thread full of details. In short, the head, partial biceps, 3/4 of the lower legs, and a truck mode side panel all come from Siege Voyager Prime. And the truck mode wheels come from Studio Series 32 Optimus Prime. And skipping slightly to the end of the review as I say this, Earthrise Optimus wears all of this remarkably well. I don't even care, because I barely notice unless I'm looking at Chris Carter's Twitter thread. Part of the reason for this is, from the neck to the knees, this is almost entirely a new figure. He's a tiny MP44 style, pushing G1 with joints up a once insurmountable mountain, and try as I might, I just can't be grumpy. Also, why would anyone try to be grumpy? Life's too short. The backs of his legs look weird, and he does have wheel wells folded up above his butt, and while the blue painted hands look premium, their sculpt never really looks amazing when open, or much better than a normal mainline Transformers peghole fist when closed. They are a great segue into one of the main Voyager Plus premium upgrades of this figure, which is his fully painted Matrix of Leadership and its fully painted Matrix Chamber. And the segue was actually that the hands are painted as well. It even does, the Matrix Chamber even does the thing with a silver painted internal cover that makes the pectoral windows look shiny from the outside. The proud bastards. Siege's copious 5mm ports quietly carried over to Earthrise, which is a welcome addition to the regular bullet points. The effect parts pegs are there too. It's obvious why on the legs, since they're shared, but hey, the shoulders added fresh ones. Optimus comes with his good old ion blaster, which can curl up to store wherever there's an open hole. Its silhouette-breaking storage peg does allow for fun stuff like bolting it to his arm or slinging it across his back on an invisible strap, and I guess there's that trailer over there. Look, it opens. You can stand it upright since it's a box, and the G1 toy did it. There are lots of peg holes for whatever you want to have hanging off of a box that's either standing up or laying down. When it's laying down, you can fold out those support struts. The command tower is back, but traded its radar dish for a second arm. Freshness! What actually made me smile is the odd decision to have this entire tower be detachable. It's supposed to hook on as a backpack, but I rather like the idea that this is just a new friend, swooping in after Roller apparently dumped Optimus. Prime's rebound tends to look a little Johnny Five, but those holes aren't eyes, they're weapon mounts. The cockpit visor is the eyes. It's canon. I don't have to prove anything. You can also pull a plate off of the adaptable interconnection retrofitter lock system compatible trailer ramp to use as a shield to put a little bit of connective tissue between Siege and Earthrise's Prime's accessories, and also to continue the mimetic tradition that now has always existed of Optimus Prime having a shield. But suddenly able to end this section on an up note, thanks to Ryan Barnhill, a short tanker on Twitter, I am happy to report that Siege Prime's folded axe can use a possibly intentional connection to do the G1 thing and plug onto a wrist stump. So if you have Siege Prime and Earthrise Prime, bonus feature. A suite of articulation is very similar to Siege Optimus, if we're being honest. It's a ball socket neck, which, aside from turning around, you get this much nodding and this much what you saying, fella? Your shoulders do your average Optimus Prime things. They can T-pose. There's a 90-degree elbow with a bicep swivel and a wrist joint. Now, these hands are new in that there's a knuckle. This doesn't interfere with holding things because the 5mm hole is more or less there. It's in like an arc. There's only a bit missing here, so it'll grip stuff. Does this look good when it's open? Kinda. Maybe a little bit. It looks more like an action splayed hand from some certain angles when you open it that much. It doesn't look all that great as a relaxed hand. Usually looks better closed like this. So for me, it's either closed like this or something's going on, but there's nowhere really in between. Your waist does this stuff. There is a plate back here. It doesn't interfere with the waist swiveling until you get to some extreme areas, which I can't complain about too much. It prevents some crazy poses, but as far as natural posing, I got everything I need. The hips don't have to worry about skirt impediment, because the whole skirt goes with them. Yeah! He can kick about that high. He can, for those of you who like to kick back, he kicks back about that far. It's mostly for, I think, like hero posing or walking poses. There's outward stuff, once again, no skirt involved. Big-ass splits. Thigh swivels do all their things. The knee bend goes super deep for a single hinge, which is pleasant. And there's ankles that have some sculpted detail to cover for them when you get about that far. If you go even farther, it starts to look a little bit discombobulated. The back of the heel, I like to have this down a little bit so that for the aforementioned hero posing with the leg back a little ways, gives them a bit of extra balance. It's very helpful. There's no real toe joint, though, other than pointing the foot down like that for jumping. This is way more useful. Articulation is satisfying. He can do the jump. He can do the kneel. He can do the point gun. An ab crunch would have put this over the top, but as a Voyager Plus, that's, I guess, still a pipe dream. I touched on how much I don't mind Earthrise Prime's shared components, and the transformation is the downward spike to finish that teasing upward volley of a statement. His transformation is not Siege Prime's. It's not affected by Siege Prime's. The legs, despite sharing so many components, aggressively simplify themselves to not be Siege Prime's in transformation. The thick, meaty sponge cake of this transformation hits so many notes of a Siege Prime tier, showcasing a little bit more of that Voyager Plus quality in the torso's ridiculous reshaping technology. My copy sadly doesn't have the perfection of tab tolerances to almost literally suck itself back together like my Siege Prime, but once again, the actual pie beneath the garnish is so delicious I can forgive it. This is a heck of a transformation, a darn heck, I dare say. A ridiculously intense love letter from a 2019 that brought multiple ridiculously intense Optimus Prime love letters. Oh, yeah, and then you take the box and you close it if it was open and you put it there, as though it did any of the work itself. This is a tooth-achingly sweet G1 Optimus truck with a trailer, full-on nostalgia bait with no pretense and zero subtlety. It even has the trailer. Now let's put the trailer aside and talk about the important parts. Oh wait, let me get that gun out from under there. The gun can store on the truck cab to keep things contained and containerless, and that thing we got rid of. It has a lot of holes in the bottom. You can put other stuff there if you want to. Look, you and I both have our own expectations, and this meets mine because it looks like the truck. I greatly appreciate details like the vibrant windows and slightly protruding side cylinders. Earthrise Prime can roll, no question, and as a simple truck cab, there are enough available 5mm ports for me to feel comfortably silly. The trailer can hitch a ride and roll as well. It does the thing. It turns on the axis because the axis is a round peg. I think it looks slightly small compared to the truck cab, but there are many optical illusions of perspective that could be leading my senses astray. However, the last thing about this box that I have to complain about is straight up petty. I don't get to be petty very often, so for crying out loud, I can't fit any vehicles a reasonable size into here. Micromasters, sure, but those are like accessories with legs that want rights, and even the vauntedly tiny MP45 Bumblebee bumps edges and bounces off before he clears the ramp. It's like, if you boil down the most basic simple thing a trailer has to do, which is open a side and let you put a thing in it, like, it even makes that not super conducive or fun. Earthrise Optimus Prime is a fabulous figure, enhancing Siege Optimus while quietly discarding most of the actual function of his predecessor in order to deliver solid articulation and a delightful transformation. This is a huge checkmark in the "This Can Work" column on the Advances in Transformers tool sharing worksheet. This is a Voyager Plus that uses its escalated price point to great advantage on the robot part of the package. The trailer is not a ripoff, nor is it particularly egregious beyond its aggressive plainness. It contains lots of plastic, pieces move, and can pop off to accessorize Optimus himself, but I feel absolutely no joy or design-intended excitement from 99% of what it's doing. I still really like that the command tower seems like a little boy. The trailer literally follows the Optimus Prime trailer manual, has two pieces peg on rather than pin on, and boy did I not ever think I'd levy the criticism of "it really needed roller" at a Prime box in my collector lifetime. But before those decrying the Siege-born current state of the leader class price point yank me over and give me a club hat or something, I think Siege Shockwave, including all of his accessories, is one of the best toy releases of 2019. Using the leader price point to do a Voyager Plus with an included play pattern of interlocking pieces is absolutely my jam and jelly. I just don't think any figure did it as well as Shockwave, and I don't think Earthrise Prime did it as well as anybody from Siege. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus. I like Earthrise Optimus Prime. I hate Earthrise Optimus Prime's trailer, and I think you are all individually beautiful people. With as little bias as possible, I'd especially like to thank all the beautiful people who have stuck with me on Patreon and other such support systems outside of the YouTube monster. You've all kept fuel in my flesh and gasoline in my blood. In the good way.